So the reason why I ask you to sit beside your family is because of our title and our message tonight. The message tonight, which is part of this series, can we all say this? One, two, three, go. When family is hard to love. Ouch, right? Who here experienced this? When family is hard to love. Now, this is applicable to all kinds of family, okay? To your immediate family, to your in-laws, to even blended family, and even to church family. Who here believes that LCC is your second family? Yay! Thank you. And if you're here for the first, second, or third time, welcome to the family. Later on, please don't go home right away. We have snacks prepared for you guys, okay? But we're gonna talk about this one. And all of us have experienced this, right? That suddenly a fairy tale family. You know what a fairy tale family is? The kids look at the parents as the superheroes. Oh, I'm so inspired with my dad, with my mom. They're like, have superpowers. And then the kids are like the fairy tales one where they're so obedient, they're so kind. Wow, beautiful family, right? Your family is like a harmonious family. There's less fights. Or maybe some of you also have a seemingly perfect family. When someone looks at your family, wow, Lord, one day I want my family to look just like that. But suddenly, that kind of family that you have turned into a family that's so hard to love. Suddenly, the house feels gloomy, feels dark. The house feels like there's not much oxygen. What do I mean by that? Oh, when I see my parents, it's suffocating. When I see my kids, I need a break. I can't breathe at home. I need to go to Jasper. Wow. I need to be in Banff. I need to walk in the trail where there's so much oxygen so that I can just take a break because my family is just so hard to love. For some of us, this moment came in during a certain era of our lives. Maybe for some of you, it was during your childhood. For me, I remember that my family was so hard to love even in that stage. As early as that stage, I've experienced that. Why? Because I saw my parents fought each other. Loud yelling, bad words, violent sometimes too. That's why parents, please, if you're gonna have a conflict or an argument, try your best not to show it in front of your kids. Even though they're just 3, 4, 5 years old, you know what? It stays in their memory. And that builds a childhood trauma. And sometimes childhood trauma builds what? Their future. Some of them have a different form of life because of what they've experienced from their past. They remembered, that time it was so hard to love my family. That's why parents, try your best not to show your kids your conflicts or arguments. If you want, go ahead, book 2 days in Banff, right? Wow, what a beautiful place to argue. You get distracted. You're about to get mad, but you see the Lake Louise. I think I'm just gonna say sorry. Wow, about so loving family. Some of you maybe experience it during your teenager stage, right? Where's the circles? Sometimes this is when we experience that family is so hard to love because your parents doesn't understand you. And that happened to me as well. My parents, especially my mom, I didn't have a good relationship with my mom because she don't want me to get into a relationship. But I want it so bad. But my mom keeps saying no. And I came to the point that how come the other young men like me, their mother is being so supportive. But with me, my mom will always say no. It's so hard to love my mom. I wish I have another mom. Ooh. Some of us experience it in certain eras of our life. Maybe for you guys during your young adult or even now that you have a family. Some of you may have experienced it in moment. It comes with waves. Last week, you loved your spouse so much because it's marriage retreat. Your love is like from the moon and back. Oh, I love you again. Oh, I'm so in love with you again. And then this week, I hate you. Why did it change? Because you didn't even apply anything that we learned from marriage retreat. Tell to your spouse beside you, be patient. Oh, see how quiet it is? Maybe it has changed already. Say it again, be patient. Let's be patient because changes is not always miraculous. Sometimes it takes what? Process. Okay? So when your spouse is hard to love, please don't quit right away. Please don't sign up divorce paper right away. Be patient. Okay? We experiences those things in moments, in waves, but I hope when we experience family is hard to love, don't quit right away, right? Some of you, it's painful to admit that the season of when it's hard to love became permanent. It's not a 1 week on, 1 week off anymore, but every single day you bear the pain in your heart, that pain of a grieving heart, a wounded heart that is just so hard to heal, and a heart that is full of this hate because of the things that they've done to you from the past. And I know that's hard and painful where this season here has become permanent. Imagine that every single day, that's what they are experiencing. I know, yes, this is a challenging and painful season of life for all of us. When family is what? Hard to love. Why? Because family relationships can be painful and complicated. Do you guys agree? Even the Bible characters that we admire, they also have experienced what? Family conflicts. And even Jesus himself experienced family tension. So if you are experiencing this season right now, don't worry. It's normal. Yes, it's normal. Can you tell to the family beside you, it's normal. It's normal. Don't worry. It's normal. Doesn't mean that your family is hard to love right now. Doesn't mean your family is crazy. Doesn't mean your family is the worst. Above all in LCC family, I think my family is the worst. My family is so chaotic. No, it's just a phase in your life that who knows? God, and I pray and I believe that hard moment in your season right now, He will use it to turn your family into a great and strong family. Do you guys believe that? Thank you, Lord. There are some of you that believes it. Yes, loving our family can be hard, but I believe that love will still find its way. I believe that love can fix everything. But for that to happen, we need to first identify some of the key factors. Why is it really hard to love our family members? Number one is, can we all say this? 1, 2, 3, go. Unseen. Buti pa in Avatar. At least in Avatar, they say to each other what? I see you. Have you guys watched that? They even say that even to the outcast, to the person, they call him Monkey Boy. Because he's not the same color, not the same species, not the same culture, but yet they acknowledge him and they said, I see you. How about in your family? Do you guys see each other? I'm not saying about literally, oh, we don't see each other. My mom works in the morning, my dad works in the evening, I work in the afternoon. When I take a nap and then I wake up, they're already gone. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I mean is that, do you see each other? Do you see what they're going through? Or sometimes are we just focused on ourselves? It's hard to love family when we feel that we are unseen. Why? Because it feels like we are not part of the family. Right? We feel that we are underappreciated. And we feel that we are overlooked. Right? Your spouse doesn't see the sacrifices you make. Why are you so tired? You're just at home with the kids. Whenever you want to sleep, you can just lie down. Really? Do you think being a full-time mom is that easy? Do you see the amount of suffering they need to give to the kid? The amount of suffering they need to take care of the house? How come when you come home from our house, you don't even say hi to me or you don't even help me with the kids right away? Do you see your husband's sufferings at work too? Maybe they receive a bad news at work that they may get laid off soon. All of us sometimes can be blinded of each other's sufferings, right? Your child don't see that as a parent, you also have burdens. You know that children, that your mommy and your daddy is human being just like you are. They have sufferings on their own too, and they can share it sometimes. Why? Because they are a parent. They don't want you to share that load. They want to do it on themselves because that's the role of a parent, right? All of us sometimes can unsee each other. Even with the kids, your parents don't see the hard work that you are putting in school. They will always say, oh, you always play computer, that's why you're like that. But you don't know, I'm even crying, Mom. I already asked for tutorial. I already stayed late at night. But yet, I can only get 70% in my test. Sometimes, we don't see, even with our kids, we don't see their sufferings or how much they're putting as an effort for their careers. Yes, it's hard to love our family when they don't see our sufferings and don't appreciate the things that we do for them. But even if your family ignores you, God sees you. Can you say to the person beside you, God sees you? In Psalm 27 verse 10, it says here, though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord accepts me. Okay? Now, who's saying this Bible verse here? It's no other than David. David Padilla? No. King David. Okay? David was saying this. Why did David said this? Because he knew what it's like to be overlooked. Remember the time when Prophet Samuel, was finding a king to anoint? He went to the house of David and he saw Jesse. Jesse is David's father. And when he said that he's looking for the king, who did Jesse brought to him? All of his what? Older siblings. And why did he bring all the older siblings? Because some of them looks more muscular than David, looks more better looking maybe, or more someone that is applicable to what they're looking for. But then God keeps saying what? No, that's not the one. So Prophet Samuel asked, is there anyone else? Do you have anyone else? And that's the only time that Jesse remembered, oh yes, wait, I have another son. Oh, where is he? He's out there in the field, taking care of the flock, of the sheep. So even David felt what it's like not to be the first option, not to be appreciated. When someone asks you, who is the most handsome looking person in your family? Oh, you're the least person. Ouch. Then you start looking in TikTok, oh, maybe I start wearing different clothes. My family don't recognize the beauty that I have. Wow. Right? All of us, it's painful to feel unseen. He feels so forgotten. But this verse, just to clarify, isn't an accusation, but it's a contrast. David is not saying that my parents failed me. But what he is trying to communicate to all of us is that even if the closest human bonds, the strongest bond and relationship that we have as humans can fail to see us, but God does not. He will receive you and adopt you as His child. So if ever, because sometimes that's the reality for some families, you can really feel that you are unseen. But God sees you. He accepts you. He wants all of you. So remember, when you feel unwanted, God desires a relationship with you. Now, what's our application when you feel unseen? When you feel unseen, redirect your eyes to the God who sees you. It says even in Genesis that He is the God who sees you. He sees your sufferings. He sees your worth. He sees your sacrifice. He sees you and value you for who you are. Not what you can do, but just because of who you are. Who Paulo is, who Jeff is, who Rohan is, who Candy is. God values you just because of who you are, not what you can do. He even sees all of your tears. All of that crying moment, I feel like nobody loves me here in this family. No one appreciates what I'm doing for them. God sees all the tears. And the Bible even said that all of the tears that you're crying by yourself, He's putting it in a bottle. Imagine that. Every tears that drops, it's in God's bottle. And what does it show? He cares for you. He sees you. Can you say one more time to the friend beside you? He sees you. And you really need to redirect your focus to God. Because if you continue to focus on the pain and the hurt, your heart will be corrupted with hatred. And that's hard when you start hating your family. It's inevitable to be hurt in family, right? Every single day, we can be hurt by our family. But I pray that that hurt won't turn into hatred. Because when that hurt turned into a hatred, the Bible said that people lives in hate are blind. They live in darkness. So every time you come in the home, inside your home, you always feel sad. You're always depressed. Why? Because you're living in that hate. You're always blinded. You don't see what God has in store, why your family came to the season of why is it hard to love. You can't see that the reason why you are there right now is not to divide your family, but to actually make it strong. So again, when you feel hurt from your family, don't turn it into hate. Redirect your focus, not on the pain, but on the God that sees you, loves you, and accepts you, and wants to adopt you as His child. Next application, if you feel unseen, even if they don't value what you do, remain faithful anyway. Do you guys agree in this one? Hard, right? But now that I'm a parent, I appreciate my parents even more. Because I remember maybe during the time that I am so hard to love as a child, they could have chosen not to provide for me anymore. Right? Oh my gosh, I'm so suffocated at home. My child is so rebellious. Oh, I'll just stop working. I'm so depressed. What are we gonna eat? Who's gonna pay for the bills? Same thing with you guys here in Canada. There's a lot of bills. It doesn't rest. Insurances, monthly bills, it doesn't rest. What if your parent came to the point that they're so depressed and they just want to go in a 3 years of cruise? Diba? Wow, amazing. 3 years of cruise. Oh, that's a retirement plan for us. Diba? That's so painful and that's so hard. So that's why I appreciate what families and parents do now for us. How about with your spouse, right? What if one day they just stop doing what they're doing because they feel underappreciated, they feel overlooked, they feel that they are not seen in the family? But let's not be like that. Let's be this one who remains faithful even though the family is hard to love. And one verse that will motivate you is this one. Work willingly at whatever you do as though you were working for the Lord rather than for the people. And I hope that you will do this not just for your family, even at work, right? I mean, sometimes at work, it's hard to do your part because there's a lot of things going on. But if you have this mindset that you are working actually for the Lord and not for the people, it will help you to do more things, right? It also says here that remember that the Lord will give you an inheritance as your reward and that the master you are serving is Christ. Your hardships will not be in vain, and God will reward you for it. Amen? Even though your parents, your spouse, your children, your mom, your dad, your siblings don't appreciate what you're doing for them in the hidden closet or when they're not seeing it, don't worry. God will reward all of those things. So keep loving your family even if it's hard and even if they don't appreciate you because you are doing it for God. But just to balance this topic as well, if they don't appreciate you or say thank you and make you feel seen that, you know what, I'm so proud of you. I like how you did this for us. I appreciate you, my wife, my husband. If they don't do that right away, it doesn't mean that they don't see you. Maybe they're just going through tough times too. Okay? All of us may be going through some hard challenges in our lives. That's why sometimes we can't appreciate what other people is doing for us. And that's what you call that they are present but emotionally unavailable. Okay? So again, if they don't appreciate you, don't go right away with, oh, I'm so unseen. I'm so hurt with this family. They don't see me. No. Try to change your perspective. Oh, when was the last time that I've asked my husband, my wife, my parents, my kids, how are they doing? Right? When was the last time you've checked your family? How are they doing? So I hope after this message, check each other. Maybe some of you are going through things. Or maybe you are now in the same page that I feel unseen. That's why I'm doing this to you. Me too, I feel unseen. That's why I'm doing this to you. But regardless of what we are feeling, we should remain faithful anyway. Because we are doing it for who? For God. Next one is These are the topics for the people that are unseen. If you feel unseen, these are the application, right? What's the application? Redirect your focus not on the pain, but to the God who sees you. And second one is let's still remain faithful even if they don't value you. But I also want to talk to the people that maybe got convicted during this part here. Maybe you are the one who is feeling that, I think I'm the one who make them feel unseen. I think I'm insensitive sometimes and dismissive because I put them in an unseen zone. Diba? Before it's inbox zone, now it's unseen zone. Of course, everyone needs to improve. Maybe the unseen people will feel, so it's me again. It's me again who's gonna adjust. It's always me, it's always me, it's always me. Of course, I got you. We're gonna talk to those people that sometimes are very insensitive and dismissive. Do you know what dismissive person means? This is what a dismissive person means. Someone who treats others as if what they say or feel doesn't matter. Assess your heart right now. When your spouse, your parents, your children, or your siblings had expressed their honest feelings about you, their honest feelings about you, whether you have hurt them, Mom, I was so sad you said this to me. My wife, how come you've disrespected me this way? My husband, how come you keep neglecting my feelings? Or maybe some of you have disappointed them. Or they have talked to you that they want you to improve onto something. Or some of you has been talked by your loved one that they want to correct something about you. What's your initial response? Let's try to assess ourselves right now. What's your initial response? Do you absorb it or do you react explosively? What do you mean I didn't wash the dishes? Oh. Sometimes we react so explosively that we don't see where they're coming from. We always want to be in the defensive mode instead of us seeing where they're coming from. That's why it says here, who treats others as if they say or feelings doesn't matter. Right? Dismissive people will interrupt or talk over others. Your partner, your family is not yet done speaking. You're about to say something already. You don't even let them finish the whole sentence. Why? Because you're so focused in what you have in mind. And not on what they feel. And that's not good, LCC. Dismissive people will say things like, you're overreacting. It's not a big deal. What do you mean? Maybe you're just in your period. Why? I think it's your hormones. That's why you're like that. Why? What? And they show little empathy. Little empathy is they can't really put their shoes into your shoes. For some reason, it's so hard for them to see where you're really coming from. Diba? And lastly, they act superior or uninterested. Right? Maybe some of them let you finish everything that you have in your heart, and their face is so nonchalant. No reaction at all. Why? Because they're uninterested in what you're saying. In their mind, they already know what's right. And what you're saying is irregardless right away. Now, what's the root cause of being dismissive? It's no other than pride. That's why it says here that dismissive people are also fools. Why? They find no pleasure in understanding, but delight. They're even happy. Diba? They delight in airing their own opinions. That's why the root cause is pride. They always want to be right. No matter what you say, at the end of conversation, they will still be the person who is right. If you see yourself as a dismissive person, don't worry. I have an antidote for you. Tell to the friend beside you, I have an antidote for you. so hard to say, no? Especially when you're beside your family, no? So what's an antidote for a dismissive person? Philippians 2 verse 4, let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. Do you do this, family? Do you also look first onto the interests of others? This verse doesn't mean to ignore your own feelings or to neglect your own needs. Because maybe in a conflict, both of you have a reasons, both of you has a point. Both of you were hurt. But this verse is not saying that you should ignore and neglect what you're feeling, but to focus more on. But to focus more onto the interests of others. That's what it means like to be Christ-like, right? Humility and obedient to God. That we are able to put their interest first. What does this mean, their interest? Do you consider their burdens? Why did they say that you have hurted them? You hurt them. Why did they say that they're disappointed at you? Why do they say that sometimes I feel unseen? Right? Examine yourselves. Maybe you're not considering their burdens. Have you noticed their feelings? They're already crying, they're already weeping, and for you, your heart is not being captivated by it. Have you ever been in that conversation? The person in front of you is already weeping because they're so heartbroken, but for you, it's like nothing. Maybe you're not putting their interest first. It's not sinking in because there's something in your mind that keeps on repeating and repeating and repeating. You need to ignore that for a moment. Ignore what is in your own understanding and start understanding the person in front of you. That's what this means. And you need to value their concerns and make room for their perspective. Okay? If you want your family to love each other easily, start giving intentional attention to each other and value the weight of their feelings and their words. Do you guys agree? Hard, no? But we should agree that we should put each other's first. That's gonna be a harmonious relationship where no one will feel unseen inside the house. Second one that makes us feel hard to love our family is favoritism. We here has favorites. When there is favoritism, this makes it hard for the siblings to love each other. Siblings, do you agree? Oh, only one said yes. It's hard to admit, especially when you're noticing that there is a favoritism going on. It's painful for them because it divides them, and eventually that division will turn into hate to each other, which can lead to unfortunate outcomes. And let me give you an example for this one. Who here knows this guy? Who's this guy? This is Jesus? No, looks like Jesus, right? But this is Joseph, who wears what? Robe of many colors. And do you know how did he got this beautiful robe? Was it because he did something so well? Was it a big accomplishment? He was the valedictorian in the ancient times. Was it because he was able to slay Goliath? Or was it because his birthday? Or a special occasion? No. The Bible said one thing. The reason why he accepted or he have received this beautiful robe is no other than because Jacob loved him more than his brothers. What will you feel if you are the brother of Joseph? Your parent came home from a vacation and you don't have any pasalubong, no souvenirs. Your sibling, oh, here you go, iPhone 17. And for you, oh, here you go, eat some vegetables. Does that show favoritism? No, I'm just rewarding my child. Really? You know what? There's nothing wrong in giving gifts, especially if you want to reward them. Maybe they have been doing so well at school or how they are as a kid or with your spouse or those kind of stuff. But if it leads to favoritism, might as well don't give. If you're going to give something to the firstborn, give it also to the secondborn and to the lastborn. That's why learn how to budget. If you can't afford to give all of your kids something, then don't have 5 children. Okay? Or else, favoritism will happen. Do you know how many siblings he has? How many? More than 12 brothers. Or because there's a girl. 12 brothers and a girl. Right? So, maybe it's so hard to make it balance. So, next one that we're going to talk about is that this favoritism really grew in hatred. Why? What this says here. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him. So if you're seeing your kids not in a harmonious relationship, please start assessing yourself. Maybe you're starting to give favoritism. Maybe the other kid is starting to become jealous, right? So, because of this, their hatred grew and grew to the point that what happened? They planned to murder who? Joseph. They throw him to the pit and then sold him to the merchant as a slave. Right? Parents, if you want your kids to have a hard time loving each other, go ahead, play favorites. If you want drama at home, oh, it's so boring, nothing's happening. Start giving iPhone 17 only to one child. Please, let's not do favoritism. And you know what? Favoritism is very ironic. It's very ironic. Why? Because you are not actually giving a favor to that child. You're not, let me repeat that, you're not doing a favor for that kid that you have a favoritism. Instead, you are creating a spoiled brat. Yes, you are creating a spoiled brat. And you can tell them by behavior. You can tell which one is the favorite. Why? Most favorite kids, they are entitled. Rules don't apply to them because they grew up with special treatment. They also have what? Excessive complaining or whining. And they use emotional tactics to get attention or what they want. And they also have difficulty saying what? No. Or limits because for them, it's always yes. Oh, I made some mistake. Don't worry, it's okay. Diba? We don't correct them. And most of them grew also being self-centered, focuses primarily on their own feelings and desires. They become dismissive people. And they start struggling to consider other people's feelings and perspectives and also show little empathy. So if you build a child like that, do you think other people that surrounding that child will be able to love that child easily? No. If in your family it's already hard to love that sibling, and then you're expecting that that person will grow well, no. That's why we should not create any favoritism. Please, parents, and even leaders of our church, because we have agreed earlier that our family here, LCC, is our second family. That's why I'm saying this. Please, parents, leaders, disciplers, coordinators, let's not give special treatment. Discipline those who need to be disciplined, and show compassion and grace to those who need it. Agree, parents? So hard, right? God, why do we need to do that? Because even God, right? God don't have favoritism. So we should do it as well. But God give a favor as a reward to those who are diligent and faithful. So let me balance this topic about favoritism as well. For those people that you don't feel that you are the favorite or the special one to your parent, have you ever assessed your first self, yourself first? Before you sulk, before you had the hurt from your parents that, why am I not the special one? Why am I not the favorite one? Have you looked in the mirror first? Maybe there's something wrong about you. Maybe you're not being obedient. When your mom told you to clean the dishes, it takes you, wait mom, wait mom, wait mom, wait mom. The next day, the dishes is still there. How can you be the favorite? How can the parent give you a 17 Pro Max? You can't even clean the room. Diba? You need to assess yourself first. Don't be right away, my parents have favoritism. In the church, they have favoritism. They do special favors. No, assess yourself first. How is your life? Are you being a blessing? Are you being a blessing to the church, to the family, to your siblings? Check yourself first before you start pointing at each other. Okay? See what you need to be changed so that it's easy for those people to love you as well. Because that's our goal, is to make our life easy to love each other. Now, third one, comparison. Wow, it's hard to love our family when there is comparison. And sometimes, I know what you're going through. We start to compare out of frustration. Sometimes we can't help it but compare our children to other children, compare our children to their sibling, and it's the same thing too with our spouse, right? Sometimes in the heat of the moment, we can't help it but to compare our spouse to the others, to other people that we know, to justify your point and to express how mad you are. Same thing with our parents. When they frustrated you, they hurt you start comparing them. How come his mom or her mom is doing that for her? How come his dad and her dad is doing that for him? Right? But it says here that comparing is actually an unwholesome talk. It says here in Ephesians 4, verse 29, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may be benefit those who listen. So, comparison is an unwholesome talk. You think it will build them up if you start comparing them? You think they will be motivated to change if you start comparing them? No. But we should focus here instead. What are the things that can build up a person? Let me give you some example. In marriage, sometimes we say, oh, you're too sensitive. I just told you why you didn't take a shower, and then you're mad right away. You're too sensitive. You should be more like Wonder Woman. She's being shot by guns and bullets already, but did you see her cry? No, she didn't cry at all because she is Wonder Woman. You should be Wonder Woman too. That's becoming too insensitive, right? But we should build up each other instead. Again, according to what? To our needs. So if they feel overwhelmed, what you should say instead of comparing them to other spouse, is that, I see how hard you're trying. I appreciate you. How will that make you feel, right? Feels like, okay, there's an encouragement for me to improve more. If they feel insecure, what do you say? Oh, the reason why you're insecure because you're not Paulo, he just lost 12 pounds. Oh, that's why. No, you say, you matter to me and I'm grateful for you. I see your hard work. Before you're just eating rice and lechon, now it's just salad. Once in a while. Wow, thank you, Lord. If they made a mistake, what do you say? Oh, look at his husband, oh, he's so perfect. No, you say, we'll figure this out together. That's why you're one. You're not made to solve things in a different or in a separate way, but you're one. Let's figure this thing together. In parenting, sometimes we say these famous words, why can't you be like your sibling? You think sometimes that will motivate your child to be better and to be like their older sibling or their younger or the middle? No. Let's build them up instead. When they are shy, you can say, I love how thoughtful you are. When they are struggling, you can say, I'm proud of your effort, not just the result. How about a rebellious teen, right? You can also say, I believe you are capable of better. When we say those things, it helps to build their confidence that I'm not just a bad son or a bad daughter. I have hope. I can change, and I can see that my parents is wanting to see me change. Next one is even with child to parent. We see this one. Sometimes we make our parents feel unappreciated. So if your parents feel that they're unappreciated, what you can say is what? Thank you for always providing for us. And if a parent feels disrespected, you can also say, I value your wisdom and experience. So let's stop saying unwholesome talk and let's focus on the things that will build them up according to their needs. Next one is differences. Do you guys agree all of us have differences in the family? Yeah? Have you seen the differences in the family? You know what? When me and my wife started our relationship, we were head over heels. What does head over heels means? So kilig, so in love to each other. Why? Because we have a lot of similarities. Our humor is so similar. The food that we want is so similar. Our activities, we love serving God. But you know what? When we got married and started living together, that harmonious relationship become a relationship that is so hard to love. And you guess it right. It's because we started finding out about our differences. When you start living together, that's sometimes everything shifts. We started finding out that for her to be able to relax, she needs to clean first. And I'm the opposite guy. I need to relax first so I can clean. For me, my lifestyle is nighttime. I like staying up late. For her, it's morning. So we have differences between the two of us, and it took us 7 months of transition before we are able to accept our differences and find the balance between it. And that's why it says here, just as a body, though one, has many parts. Same thing with our family. Just as the family is one, it has many parts. And with the differences, I also want to talk about, there's a lot of different things such as communication styles. That's what sometimes family is hard to love, is because we have differences in communication styles. One is direct, one is indirect. One is confrontational. Let's sit here right now. Let's talk about it. But the other person is taking a long time to process it. They can talk right away. Some is loud, some is soft-spoken. Somebody is sarcastic in the family. Someone is serious, right? Sarcastic is the people that they can take things seriously. They like to make jokes even though it's already serious. Some people naman, they make everything too serious. Right? All of us have differences. Even love languages. We all have differences in love languages. What are the love languages? Words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch, gifts, and quality time. So, if we all have differences, what should we do, right? Especially in love language. I think we should learn how to give way in our differences. If that person, their love language is words of affirmation, then we should give it to them. Because sometimes fight can happen that, I feel like you don't love me. What do you mean I don't love you? I'm giving you all of the expensive luxury bags. I'm giving you the expensive sneakers. But wait, that's not my love language. I don't feel love when I'm receiving these gifts. I feel more love when you have quality time with me. So that's the key with differences, is that we need to figure out what's in the middle. And also, let's read this 1, 2, 3, go. Differences weren't designed to divide a family, but to strengthen its harmony. What do you mean by that, Pao? How come our differences is made for strength and harmony? Because imagine your family as this Bible verse here. Imagine your family as a body part. What if all of your family members are mouth? And there's a conflict at home. Will it be harmonious? Everybody is like bickering at each other. Hey, it's because of you. No, it's because of you. Da, 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 da. No. That's why God made all of us and all of your family members different. You know who's the mouth. You know who's the ears. You know who's the eyes that can see. You know who has the heart. You know who has the mind. Everyone is made different so that we can strengthen each other. You know, when love is used for our differences, it actually complements each other. It's not made for division, okay? So again, if you find yourself different from your parents, your spouse, your siblings, please, it should not create a chaotic environment. It will be like that if there's no love. The key still is love. We're almost done. Hang on tight. Last one is, it's hard to love in my family when there are failed expectations. Have you ever experienced this? A failed expectation? For example, these are common spouse-to-spouse expectations. You should understand me without me explaining. Wow, you want me to be a psychic. You want me to be a fortune teller. When I made this, you should already know, she's happy. Right? When I made this, I think she wants me time, quality time. Right? Sometimes we make our relationship complicated. We want each other to just know it by the blink of an eye or by the simple gestures. You should prioritize me over everything. Wow. I know, it's hard sometimes. Sometimes we feel unseen. Maybe that's why they're saying that. You should meet all my emotional needs, whether I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm lonely, I'm depressed, everything, all of it, you need to serve me there. That's why last Friday, I've talked to the Circles Young Pro that the best way to prepare for marriage is to become whole first. Become whole in who? Only a few circles has received it. Be whole in Jesus. Because truth is, our partners, our spouse, our relationships will drain you. Because we're all imperfect people. That's why we need to become whole first in God. And when we are whole in God, in Jesus, then even though the person, our spouse, don't meet our emotional needs, you can still be happy. There's still joy inside of you. You can still function as a mom. You can still function as a dad. You can still go to work, even though the family is chaotic. Why? Because you are whole in Jesus. And when you are whole in Jesus, you're able to feel the love that your spouse needs. Because imagine if you are 2 cups and both of you are half empty. How can you feel each other when you're both half empty? One of you will eventually run out, run dry, empty. And then gap will start to happen in your relationship. That's why you need to become whole first in Jesus. Even if you're married right now, it's a continual process. We need to be whole in Jesus. Because when we're whole in Jesus, our cup will overflow. Overflow with love, joy, peace, kindness, goodness, gentleness, patience. And that's the one that we will feel our partners, right? You should change the habits I don't like. Diba? Those are our expectations. And why does it cause conflict? Because spouses expect mind reading and perfection from another imperfect person. Another failed expectations from parent to child. You should obey me immediately. Right? When I told you to throw the trash, teleport. When I told you to wash the dishes, even though you're doing something, do it right away. You should succeed academically. You should represent our family well, and you should appreciate our sacrifices. Now, why does it cause conflict to your child? Because I don't see something wrong with this one, right? It seems to be they should be doing this. As a child, as one that, even with Shiloh, I want her to be a good child. And that's why I have this kind of expectations. But why does it cause conflicts? Because parents sometimes tie love to performance or behavior. Sometimes the child feel that they are not loved because they are failing your expectations about them. Next one, child to parent expectations. You should always support me. If I want to get married right now, support me. If I want to leave school, support me. If I want to have a live-in partner, support me. I don't want to live in this house anymore. I'm a self-independent man or woman. Support me. You should understand my feelings. And all of us always say this. You don't understand me. You don't know where I'm coming from. You should be fair. How come you always have time for my sibling? How about me? I'm so unseen. And you should notice my effort. When was the last time you told me, I'm proud of you? You know, parents, that's one of the things that your child craves the most. It's when you tell them, I'm proud of you. Now, why does it cause conflicts? Because children expect emotional safety and affirmation. When it's missing, that kind of affirmation and that emotional support, it hurts them. Hurt starts to form in their heart. Now, what should we do with expectations? Is having expectations with our family members wrong? Let me say this. Learn how to communicate your expectations. Maybe this is the missing piece, right? Have you ever communicated your expectations to your wife, to your husband, to your children, to your siblings, to your parents? Or you just keep on assuming? Again, people are not mind readers. Sometimes we just need to put a little bit more of an effort of explaining them what help do you need. Okay? So I hope that if you have expectations that are not met, learn how to communicate them to your family member. And give grace to failed expectations. Because even if you've already communicated to them what you expect them to do as a daughter, as a son, as a husband, as a wife, as a father, and as a mother, they can fail still sometimes. Because process and change and becoming better takes time. That's why it says here, be completely humble and gentle. Be patient. Patient is very essential to make that season of family is hard to love to a better family state. Bearing with one another in love. Right? So for those who are failing expectations, let me also talk to you guys. For those who are failing the expectations of your husbands, your wife, your parents, your siblings, if the expectations are right, realistic, and for the betterment of your family, then please improve. Tell to the family beside you, improve. Don't be selfish, okay? Learn how to sacrifice even if it's hard. Because maybe after this, you'll talk, oh, did you listen to Paulo last Sunday? I failed your expectation, right? Be patient. It's already 10 years. And you still can't close the lid after you pee. You can still wipe the surroundings after you pee. You can't even throw a garbage that's already full. You can't even clean your own mess. If the expectation is right and realistic and for the sake of the betterment of the family, please improve. Don't be a baby. You're already married and you're still a baby? You still let your husband, your wife take care of simple things? Let's improve. You're already a young adult, you want to be married, but even your own bed you can't fix. Even your own mess you can't fix. How much more when you have your own children? Right? So let's improve. That's the key. To end, can we all read this? 1, 2, 3, go. Even when family is hard to love, decide to love them with the love Jesus gives you. Amen? Do you believe that the love of Jesus is the key that we need to give? And what's that kind of Jesus love? Live low and love deep. And that's what you call Christ-likeness. Wow, sponsored. That's what we need. We need Christ-likeness in our family. Start making Jesus as the foundation of your family. Without Jesus, everything will fall down. Without Jesus, the season of your family is hard to love will remain for a long time. But if you want to end it now, if you want to make your family harmonious, then start putting Jesus as the center of it. Not just by saying it, but in actions. When was the last time you were able to love others just like Jesus? Again, what's that? A forgiving love. Have you ever, when was the last time you were able to forgive those who have hurt you in your family? A sacrificial love. Even though it will take something out of you, I'll still give. Even though you're not the one who made the mistake, I'll still be the one who will reconcile with that person. And most of all, the hardest part, unconditional love. When is the last time we were able to share unconditional love to our family members? And this verse is one thing that will help us. Make allowance for each other's faults. Because nobody's perfect. Every single day, that person can fail you, can miss the expectations, can make you feel unseen, can compare you. Every single day, there's a possibility that we can be hurt from our family members. But we should make allowance for it and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the love forgave you, so you must forgive others. If you have experienced the magnitude love of Jesus for you, then you will be able to love and forgive your family as well. Because that is not through your own strength, but what Jesus did in the cross. Second phrase, it says, above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds us all together in perfect harmony. Why should we clothe ourselves with love? Because loves cover multitude of sins. And that kind of love will make your family more harmonious. So to end, can I ask everyone to close their eyes? And if your father is with you, if the father is present within the family, can you please pray for your family members? If your family is not here, can you please pray for your family? If you are beside with a family member in the church, like LCC family, please pray for each other. Can we have this moment for the family to just pray for each other, for reconciliation, for protection, for the love of Jesus to be in the midst and to be the center of it? Take your time, no rush. You can close your eyes and please pray for your family. And I would suggest, can you pray in an audible voice? Do you know that praying inaudibly make it more special? Because your spouse will hear it, your children will hear it, how much you care for that family. So please, Father, take courage. Can you pray audibly for your family right now?